Folks, back by popular demand, it's everybody's favorite Warzone knockoff mode, Alcatraz, or Rebirth Island as it's been renamed here in Cold War. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I got pretty excited when I saw that this smaller Battle Royale map and faster paced game mode was coming back with the launch of Season 1 a couple days ago. But after hopping in and playing some games, it's evident several things have definitely changed from the cult classic Black Ops 4 version of this game mode, and it's not just an exact copy and paste reskin. So today we're gonna answer the question that's burning deep inside everyone's loins. Is this burning sensation gonorrhea or syphilis? Ask your doctor before it's too late. No, but really, we're going to be taking a deep dive into several of the changes to this map and mode to find out definitively which is better, the Black Ops 4 version of Alcatraz or this new Cold War take on Rebirth Island. So grab your parachute and get ready to hot drop in on Powerhouse, which I've just been informed has been renamed to Chemical Engineering of all things. What a call out. Alright, here we go. Hey there, thanks for joining me here today. My name is Mr. Mooman11, and like many of you that clicked on this video, I played quite a bit of Alcatraz back in the day, so I have some pretty fond memories of the mode. There was just something that appealed to me about the much more chaotic, fast-paced action of the Alcatraz gameplay compared to the wide-open, slow-moving Blackout map. I mean, my friends and I wouldn't even play the regular 6v6 multiplayer back in Black Ops 4 because of the variety that Alcatraz offered, and the adrenaline rushes you get for playing hard all game and clutching the win. And boy oh boy, when we did. Like the opposite of a Trump court case, we had close to an 80% win rate on Alcatraz. So you know I was hyped to hop back into the action when Rebirth Island was released a few days ago. After, of course, I figured out how to load it up. You'd think integrating Warzone into Cold War would mean you could load up Warzone from the Cold War game, like the new title screen would have you believe, but no, this just gets you stuck in an infinite joining session loop. So to play this new exciting Rebirth Island Season 1 of Cold War, that's right folks, you guessed it, close down Cold War, and then go boot up Modern Warfare, then launch Warzone from there. Nothing like a good old smattering of game-breaking glitches upon release to instill confidence in your product. But come on, we all expected bugs, that's not the point of this video, and to their credit, the studios are doing a decent job at porting out some hot fixes so that people can actually play their game. But let's get back to the game mode itself. One of the most important things I think the developers did right was getting the same basic premise of the gameplay from Blackout copied over to Cold War. It was evident that after a year of the only two current choices available being Modern Warfare multiplayer and the large-scale Warzone Battle Royale, that there was something missing. So reviving Alcatraz's Rebirth Island was the perfect answer to bridge the two ends of the multiplayer spectrum into a happy middle ground. For those of you that are new to the game mode, first off, welcome, you came to the right place to learn more about it. And second, the basic premise of the mode is that you and your squad of up to 3 for now have to be the last ones alive at the end of the game by eliminating enemy squads in an ever-shrinking safe zone. Sounds a lot like Warzone, doesn't it? Yeah, but unlike Warzone, if you die, you don't just have to sit there in spectator mode waiting for your little rando Timmy to scrap together $4 grand to buy you back, just to watch him get picked off by some guy with foreign characters in his name using an aimbot. No. Instead, you're not punished nearly as hard for dying in Rebirth Island. It's like, instead of being ejected in football for purposely targeting the kicker and supposedly paralyzing him from the waist down, you're instead put inside the penalty box in hockey for 30 seconds because you only decapitated the opposing goalie. Everyday hockey stuff, really. But it's actually quite well balanced. The respawn system from Black Ops 4 in this game mode is well done, and I'm glad that the basic premise of how the game is played has remained pretty much the same from Black Ops 4. That's not to say it's exactly the same as back in the day, though. There have been some tweaks to certain aspects of how the respawn works now that I want to cover real quick. First off, this Cold War version has introduced a cooldown reduction system, where earning score like downing enemy players will reduce the amount of time your dead teammates have to spend in limbo before they respawn. And I think this is an interesting mechanic. Previously, dead peeps would get to respawn all together in waves, every minute or so like a bad rendition of It's Raining Men. So in a way, the chaos was controlled a bit since you'd know when to watch the sky for enemies dropping in on you. This new system, however, takes away a bit of the skill of working as a coordinated team to hunt down enemy squads before the respawn happens, and replaces it with an element of randomness. On the one hand, I like that you can directly help your teammates respawn faster by playing well, but like I just mentioned, it detracts from the objective of wiping an enemy squad out in a specified amount of time, because you have no way of knowing if the guy you just downed had 2 teammates that had 20 seconds left on the respawn timers, or if they were about to come crashing down from the heavens onto your tubby little face like an angry Deadpool trying out his best Avengers pose impression. This all stems from the fact that you've got to have at least one teammate alive to revive from that limbo state. If everyone gets wiped at once, your team is out for good. And that also brings up the point that this game mode just seems to play better with squads of 4 players like in Black Ops 4. One of the complaints I've seen in the community is that the lobbies seem to die off really pretty fast. Sure, we all want lots of hot, spicy action right away in the game and in the bedroom, but too much too fast can leave all parties involved feeling dissatisfied. Or so I'm told. I honestly think this issue can be solved by just reverting back to the old way of having 10 teams of 4 players instead of the current Cold War system of having 15 teams of 3. The odds of wiping a full team of 3 simultaneously is a lot higher than having to search for that last 4th player like they had us do back in the day. And that was actually a fun little hunt like I mentioned earlier, where you had to beat the respawn clock to find and take out that last remaining enemy player to permanently knock out a team. It actually felt rewarding getting a squad wipe. Now you can accidentally do it without even noticing. And then suddenly you've got a lobby at a quarter capacity and the first circle hasn't even started closing yet. Now I do think they tried to combat this problem they created in Cold War a little bit by giving everyone at the start of the game a free self-revive, but that really doesn't serve any purpose other than wasting a few extra bullets and seconds, because all the gunfights you'll get into at the start of a game are just going to be relatively close quarters considering you start with just a pistol, where if you down an enemy you're almost certainly going to get the cleanup right away. But them having that pesky self-revive forces you to finish off that player before you go hunt for their teammates, which messes with one of those early game strategies of keeping the down players crawling around so you could squad wipe them all simultaneously. Now I know, that gets into some pretty deep metagame strategy that you probably didn't think you'd be learning about in just a simple which is better video, but here at the Moo Crew, we're all about improving your skill as a player in a fun and informative way. So if you're enjoying the video, please consider hitting that subscribe button. For a limited time, everyone who joins us here at the Moo Crew will get 1 complimentary good vibe from Moo Man himself, absolutely free of charge. But back to the respawns, as the game progresses and it gets to be later on in the match, when you die and drop back in, you start back with a more powerful gun than at the start of the game. No longer do you have to face the team who has their loadouts with just a pistol after landing back in. Instead, they'll give you something like an LMG or submachine gun, something that's actually viable at taking out better positioned players. And that's a gameplay change I'm not so sure I agree with. It takes away some of the incentive to play well and play together as a squad, because you know that when you drop back in, you'll have a good enough weapon to survive in the final circle if it comes down to it. Now you may be thinking, hey Moo Man, you sexy son of a bench, give the little guy who just died a better fighting chance when he lands back in. It's not that big a deal if he's got a full auto weapon, and to that I say, your thinking is fundamentally flawed and we can no longer be friends. I'm just kidding, you know we'll always be friends. But the guys dropping in have a few advantages over the people running around already on the ground. First off is the new element of surprise, since respawns are based off the individual countdown of each player, not a giant wave-based respawn system you can prepare for. Secondly is positioning. We're going to talk about the building design changes here in a second, but it's important to know in every battle royale that positioning is the key to winning gunfights and winning the game, and the best positions are often on the high ground. Just ask Anakin, he won't make that mistake again. But if you're falling in from the sky, you've at least got the option of landing on the highest ground there is, a rooftop, which automatically gives you better positioning against your foes. So for that reason, I think they should either keep the respawning guides to just a pistol, or switch back to the old wave-based respawn method, neither of which I think they'll do, so the old Alcatraz respawn system beats out Cold War's in my opinion. And while we're on the subject of weapons, yes, we've all heard that the Mag-10 just absolutely shreds, but I want to talk about the weapon blueprints themselves. With this new integration and the possibility of finding both a Modern Warfare weapon blueprint or a Cold War blueprint when opening the ground chests, there's a ton of variety in what weapon you can pull out. And I think this is a good thing, because you're forced to try out weird and wacky off-meta weapons and attachments, but at the same time it's confusing AF. I had a moment in a game where I pulled out an SMG from a chest after a hot drop, and based off a quick visual inspection, I thought it was a KSP from Cold War, which is a burst fire weapon. Not like the blueprint name was going to help me identify what weapon I just picked up. Instead of saying in big bold letters, hey numbnuts, that's an AK-74U you just grabbed, you're expected to have memorized all the made up blueprint names like Field Agent, or Snowflake's Fury, or Putin's Solution. Fun fact, that last one is one I just made up that's just the regular old AK-47, no bells and whistles attached. Now as you can expect, my first gunfight went a little differently than I'd hoped for with this gun, because I tried burst firing the 74U, which is, surprise surprise, not the most effective use for that weapon. Just adding a simple weapon name next to the made-up blueprint name would actually be a big help so us regular doofuses can figure out what the hell we just picked up. But hey, that's the last I'll berate that topic. On to the loot chests themselves, they've implemented a new mechanic where the boxes will refresh every couple of minutes. Now this one I will say I actually think is an improvement on the old system. Used to be if you died and landed back in an area where people had already looted, you'd be left with whatever useless scraps they left laying around. Now, the boxes will respawn and you can get back into the game using your own stealth and tactical gameplay along with the help of a box gun. This is another crutch for the respawning players. A helpful one that I think is balanced appropriately since there's risk in going for a loot box, just another reason I think you should only get a pistol when you drop back in, but that's just my thoughts on it. Now let's move on to the contracts, which are now a thing on Rebirth Island for some reason. I'm not sure that this game mode is the right place for contracts in all honesty. Contracts in Warzone are for people to break up the monotony of running for 10 minutes without seeing anyone. Bounties push people together, recons give away your position, contracts there are necessary to keep the game moving at a decent pace. Rebirth Island, Alcatraz, they're already chaotic. If I pick up a bounty and it has me hunting a squad on the other side of Rebirth Island, I'm not going to care about it because there's 2 kids running around my current building teabagging Reaper after they downed him. All in all, I think the contracts are a needless addition to the mode. It doesn't really help you unless you get a lucky objective, but it also doesn't hurt the gameplay, so I give them a meh out of 10. Take them or leave them. But that does bring us to the cash system from Warzone, which has now also been implemented here in this game mode. Unlike the contracts, I think this is a definite good addition to Rebirth Island compared to Alcatraz. Back in Black Ops 4, you'd hot drop, get the random guns on the ground, kit it out with the random floor loot, and survive until you found the guns or weapon caches you wanted. But I will say almost every game, I'd end the game with a Vendetta DMR and some sort of SMG for close quarters, which is the setup that I wanted. In Rebirth Island, buying a loadout lets you play the latter half of the game the way you want to with the classes you made yourself, while keeping the classic random feel to the early game with that reliance on the ground loot. With the buy stations, you can also pick up the usual Warzone streaks like armor plates, UAVs, precision airstrikes, etc., which I think is nice. So the cash, loadouts, and buy stations I think are a good addition to this mode. But moving on to the last big thing I wanted to talk about, which I think most directly influences the pace and flow of the game mode, is the building design choices the devs have chosen to use. No, I'm not saying they should have gone with red brick instead of white stucco for the exterior walls, although that would have just looked marvelous. I did notice right away the subtle differences in windows, doors, and rooms that negatively affect how players interact with each other. In several locations across the map, there are changes to the assets the devs use that block lines of sight and just generally close off rooms and even entire sections of the map. What happens when you design cozy little closed off spaces? Campers like to move in. The pace of the game is entirely different from Alcatraz because campers are now able to play Rebirth Island like they do in Warzone, where they pick a single spot and don't move from it. Let's take the rooms below Chemical Engineering or Old School Powerhouse for example. In Alcatraz, these rooms were wide open, with lines of sight through the windows you could shoot through and no doors blocking entry into them. Now there is Scoutmaster's favorite place to take the youngins camping. Closed metal doors at every entrance, blocked windows giving no lines of sight. It's a camper's paradise because they can pick a corner and wait for you to come in to fight. Not like it really matters though, because while you're waiting for the snails to emerge from their little shells, a dead guy will just float into the rooftop above you and third-party you with a socialist government-provided LMG. But it's just these little design choices, like removing stair railings in Alcatraz you could see and shoot through and replacing it in Cold War with a wall that just actively encourage camping. All over the map, there are changes that directly negatively impact the speed of the gameplay. The devs have practically replaced Sonic the Hedgehog's running shoes with cinder blocks because of the Cold War aesthetic concrete provides, and then wonder why people complain that the pacing of the game just doesn't feel right. Now, not to sound too condescending, I am actually excited they brought back this game mode, and it absolutely was one of my favorites back in the day, along with many of you guys that have made it this far in the video. And before I give my final verdict on which map is better, Alcatraz or Rebirth Island, since you have made it this far, please do consider subscribing and hitting the like button if you're enjoying the video. It's just a little token of appreciation that I promise does go a long way in showing that the content I make is well received, so I continue to make it for you guys. But with that out of the way, let's get to it, the moment of truth. Keeping in mind that this is based on my first impressions of the game and my personal opinions on how the differences between Cold War and Black Ops 4 have played out in this mode, I've come to the conclusion that Alcatraz continues to hold the top spot over the new Rebirth Island. I will continue to give this mode some playtime in the hopes that some of the things laid out in this video do improve, but for now, hold on to your nostalgia for Alcatraz because it hasn't been beat yet. If you want to relive some of the good old days with me, check out some of the old videos I have posted to the channel under the playlist Blackouts Best, or click the little pop-up in the upper right-hand corner. We had some good times there on Alcatraz. Won't you join us for a walk back on memory lane? Anyway, thanks so much for watching the video and subscribing. I can't wait to see you in the next one.